It's a shocking statistic, but according to research from firms like CEB Global, a staggering 60% of new managers fail within their first 2 years. A huge reason for this is a simple, yet destructive paradox. The harder they try to control things to get results, the more they lose the very respect they need to lead. Have you ever found yourself trying to guide your team, or even your family, only to realize you're coming across as a micromanager? You're checking every detail, correcting every little mistake, and instead of inspiring people, you're met with silent frustration. You want to be a leader, but it feels like you're just pushing people around. In the process, you're not just losing their respect, you're crushing their spirit. In fact, in a survey of employees who'd worked for a micromanager, 68% said it destroyed their morale, and 55% said it hurt their own productivity. Today, we're going to break down the skills that build genuine influence, turning you into the leader everyone wants to follow, not the boss they have to. We'll explore how to command respect not through authority, but through trust and empowerment. First, let's get real about where this need to control comes from. It doesn't come from a bad place, right? It comes from a sense of responsibility. You want the project to succeed, the team to hit its goals, or your kids to be prepared for the world. So, you tighten your grip. You oversee every task and try to prevent every mistake. But here's the paradox. The more you control, the less influence you actually have. Control is rooted in fear. Fear of failure, of imperfection, of losing authority. And people can feel that. It screams, "I don't trust you to do this right without me." This doesn't build respect. It breeds resentment and dependency. Your team members stop thinking for themselves because they know you'll just override their decisions anyway. Their creativity shuts down, and they start doing the bare minimum. True leadership isn't about controlling every move like a chess master. It's about cultivating an environment where people can grow, just like a gardener tending healthy soil. Respect isn't earned through constant monitoring. It's earned through empowerment. So let's dive into 5 strategies that will help you lead with impact and inspire real growth. Alright, the first big mindset shift is this. Start delegating outcomes, not tasks. A controlling leader says, "I need you to do these 10 steps in this exact order and report back after each one." They're managing a process. An influential leader says, "Our goal is to boost customer satisfaction by 15% this quarter. I trust you and your team to figure out the best way to get there. How can I help?" See the difference? One is about control, the other is about purpose and trust. When you delegate an outcome, you give people a clear destination but let them draw their own map. This does 2 powerful things. First, it shows you trust their skills, which is a massive deposit in the respect bank. Second, it gives them ownership. It's no longer your project, it's their challenge to solve. This sparks innovation and accountability in a way micromanaging never could. Now that can be scary. What if they fail? Well, they might. But failure, when you handle it right, is a learning opportunity, not a disaster. Instead of punishing mistakes, frame them as data. Your role isn't to prevent every failure, but to be the coach who helps them learn when it happens. Delegating outcomes builds trust, but trust only grows when people feel heard. That's where listening comes in. Most people think a leader's job is to talk, to give direction, share vision, and provide answers. But the most respected leaders are almost always the best listeners. There's a huge difference between just hearing someone and actively listening. Hearing is passive. It's waiting for your turn to talk. Active listening is an act of genuine curiosity. It's about trying to understand where someone is coming from before you even think about making your own point. The next time a team member brings you a problem, try this. Fight the urge to jump in with a solution. Instead, get curious. Ask open-ended questions like, "Tell me more about that," or "What have you already tried?" or "What would a perfect outcome look like to you?" When you do this, you're communicating that their perspective matters. You're making them feel heard. This simple act builds incredible psychological safety, which is just a fancy way of saying people feel safe to share ideas, admit mistakes, and raise concerns. Think about the best boss you ever had. chances are they made you feel seen and heard. You can be that leader for someone else just by closing your mouth and opening your ears. Actions set the standard, but influence goes deeper when leaders show their human side. That's where vulnerability becomes powerful. You can put all the inspirational posters you want on the wall, but if your actions don't match your words, you will never earn respect. Your team isn't listening to what you say nearly as much as they are watching what you do. Leading by example is the most powerful form of influence there is. If you want your team to be accountable, be the first to own your mistakes. When something goes wrong, don't look for someone to blame. Look in the mirror. A simple phrase like, "You know what? I messed that one up, and here's what I learned," will build more respect than a year of flawless execution. It shows humility and makes it okay for others to be human too. If you expect hard work, be the hardest, most focused person in the room. If you want a culture of respect, treat every single person, from the intern to the CEO, with dignity. Your behavior sets the standard. People don't follow titles, they follow courage and consistency. When your team sees you living the values you preach, they're inspired to do the same. Actions set the standard, but influence goes deeper when leaders show their human side. That's where vulnerability becomes powerful. This one might feel backward, but embracing vulnerability is one of the most powerful things you can do to build trust. In old school leadership, the boss was supposed to be a stoic, unflappable hero who had all the answers. That approach is officially outdated. Being vulnerable doesn't mean complaining or oversharing. It means having the guts to say, "I don't know the answer," or "I'm worried about this," or "I need your help." When you admit you don't have it all figured out, you invite your team to become part of the solution. It flips the dynamic from a top-down hierarchy to a collaborative partnership. Think about it. Who do you trust more? The person who pretends to be perfect, or the one who is honest about their uncertainties? Authenticity connects with people. When you show your human side, you give others permission to do the same. Real strength isn't about being untouchable, it's about being real. Once trust and authenticity are in place, the next step is helping people grow through recognition and constructive feedback. A controlling leader obsesses over what's going wrong. An influential leader builds on what's going right. One of the quickest ways to lose respect is to ignore the effort people put in. Actively look for wins to celebrate, even small ones. It shows people their hard work is seen and valued. And when it comes to improvement, your goal should be coaching, not criticism. Avoid vague, soul-crushing feedback like, "This report is sloppy." Instead, try something specific and forward-looking like, "The analysis in this report is really strong." To make it even more powerful next time, let's brainstorm how to make the executive summary pop so the key takeaways are impossible to miss. This approach focuses on future behavior, not past mistakes. It communicates that you believe in their potential and are invested in their growth. This is the difference between being a critic and being a coach. A critic tears people down, a coach builds them up. And people will always give their best for a leader who helps them become better. Together, these strategies shift leadership from control to empowerment, creating a culture where people want to follow, not just obey. Look, shifting from a controller to a respected leader isn't about learning some new manipulation tactic. It's about a fundamental change in your mindset, from fear to trust, from directing to empowering. It's not easy, but the payoff is a team that's more engaged, innovative, and loyal. If these strategies provided value, subscribe and enable notifications to stay updated with future content. One final question. Which of these 5 strategies presents a greater challenge? Delegating outcomes or showing vulnerability? Share your perspective in the comments. So, to bring it all together, gaining respect isn't about being the person in charge. It's about becoming a person of influence. You do that by delegating outcomes to build ownership, listening more than you talk, and leading by example, because your actions are your loudest message. It's about having the courage to be vulnerable and building people up as a coach, not tearing them down as a critic. Remember, real leadership has very little to do with your title. It's about making the people around you better and creating an environment where they can absolutely shine. Pick one of these strategies and commit to it this week. You have the power to earn genuine, lasting respect. If you found this video helpful, give it a like to help others discover these insights. Share it with someone who could use a reminder about healthy relationships. And if you're passionate about self-empowerment and personal growth, subscribe for more content like this. Check out the video on screen now or explore the channel for even more tips and guidance. Thank you for watching.